Hello, welcome to the Data Channel, and you're watching Bootcamp for Data Professional. And as part of topic 11, so we'll be discussing about the installation of Visual Studio Code. So this is again one of the like IDEs that we will use for development of Python, and this is also one of the most popular like interface or the IDE that we use for Python development, and it is quite powerful and lightweight code editor developed by Microsoft, and it's highly popular for Python development. So if you compare this with other IDEs like PyCharm and Jupyter and Spider, so this is Microsoft Studio Code, VS Code we popularly call it as, right, and it is the most highly popularly used for or extensively used for Python development, and this is a recommended one of the most recommended interface or development environment that you can use for Python development, and it is so most of the industries or organization wide it is widely used, so and it recognized. And we will see what are the steps in detail to install Visual Studio Code and execute your first Python program on your Windows machine, right? And in the previous video, we have seen how to install Python, how to install the IDEs like PyCharm and Jupyter notebooks and Spider IDE. So, and in this, if you're not seen that, we would recommend you to please go back and see the previous videos. So, in this video, um, let us see about Visual Studio Code installation, and we'll see how we can execute Python program in Visual Studio Code. Right. So before proceeding, if you are new to this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So let's get started. So what you can expect from this video is you will be able to see download and install the Studio Code and install Python extension in Visual Studio Code, because once the installation is completed for Visual Studio Code is not only for the Python development, it is used for many other programming language, scripting languages and many other things. And that is the reason, so it is like it needs the extra extensions for each programming language. Similarly, like we need to install Python extension in Visual Studio, so which can support the Python development, and also we need to install Python. So this step we have already seen in the previous video. So this installation of Python we have already seen in the previous video. We would recommend you to please go and check that. So this is just we want to show you these are the steps, but in this video we will not be explaining this installation of Python in detail, but we'd recommend you to please go and check the previous videos in the playlist, and you can install the Python in a couple of minutes, right? And then once the installation of VS Code and installation of Python is completed, you can pretty much configure your Python interpreter in Visual Studio Code, and your kernel will be ready to for the execution of your first program, right? So first of all, let us see how to download the Visual Studio Code. So to download the Visual Studio, you can just go to Google and you can type in VS Code, and then you can VS Code download, right? So once you type VS Code download, you'll be able to see the first link which says which comes from Visual Studio Code, and it is code.visualstudio.com and download. So click on that. So that will take you to this screen where you will be able to see the multiple options like Windows, Mac, which Linux, which version of Visual Studio Code you want to download, and you can also see like 64-bit machine and whatever bits that you want to choose. I'm just choosing Windows uh, here, and because I'm using Windows 10. And once the installation starts, so it takes a couple of minutes to download. And meanwhile, as it is download, so you can see like there are top extensions, right? So Python extension is there, C++. So, and you can go to the marketplace and see what other things the Visual Studio Code is used for, right? Definitely, it is not for just for Python, but Python is one of the most popularly used programming languages for in Visual Studio Code, right? Download is almost complete. You can just click on that once the download is complete, and that will be your exe file, executable file in Windows machine. And as you can see, it'll ask for the acceptance of agreements. You can just go through the agreement and just click on next. So by default it will take the its own directories and folders, and it will say how much MBs of data is free disk is required. And if you don't want to create a shortcut in the start menu, just deselect that, or else just go on next. So if you want to create a desktop icon and other things, so just make sure that is clicked. But these two, whichever is default, you can keep it as it is, and then finally click on install. Now the installation is completed, and you can click on you can check this, keep this checked so that you want to launch immediately, or you can go into the start menu and type VS Code, VS Studio Code. So you'll be able to see that is already, that app is already installed in your machine now, right? So let me click on finish, and meanwhile let it open or let it start. So as we mentioned, right, Visual Studio Code is developed by Microsoft, and it is a lightweight application actually. And it is why we call it as lightweight is because compared to other IDEs, it consumes less memory, or less it is utilizes the less RAM of your machine. So it is very lightweight for your machine, and it is good for your machine as well. Even though it has a lot of plugins so that you can install as a optional, like Python. If you see, right, Python is not by default, it is installed here. So we need to install Python as a plugin, so that we will see now. So to open the extension view, so first of all, to install any extension, we need to open extension view. So for that, you need to click on Control Shift and X. So once you click Control Shift X, so as you can see the extension tab, you can able to see the extension tab, and all the extensions whatever you have, it will be visible here. And the most popular is extensions is displayed, and top is on top of that you can see the Python. So wherever it is a Python, you can just click on install, or you can even search here whichever the plugins you need or extension you need, and it is 125 MB around, right? You can just click on install. So it will start downloading from the internet, and it start installing it. Again, it will take couple of minutes to install that extension into the VS Code. So meanwhile, the installation is in progress. What we can do is we can verify the Python is already installed in your machine or not. Otherwise, you'll not be able to run any program, even though you have included Visual Studio extension, right? So for that, you just need to type in Python hyphen hyphen version, right? And it should display the current version of Python. And also you can give pip hyphen hyphen version, so which is the installer of Python. So here also you need to get a version of pip that is installed in your machine. So if this is not displaying, that means your Python is not installed in your machine. So you need to go back and install the Python. So how do we do that? We have explained in the previous videos. So please refer the previous videos and install the Python and come back here. And once this is verified, and your Visual Studio Code is installed, and then we have already installed the Python extension also now, so that we are ready for creating a new project or Python file. So here you can click on open a project folder, open or create a project folder, or you can create directly a Python file as well. So I'll just click on both, and I'll just mark as done. So here I can just click on new file, where I can just type in Python, or you can just select Python from here, right? So here what I'll do is I'll just print my first program in VS Code, right? And the important thing is we need to save it as save as .py, right? So you can save it anywhere, but I want to save it as first dot py, right? So then it is able to take it as a Python file, right? And pretty much you can go to run, and you can start debugging, or you can run without debugging, whatever you can choose here, right? And you can select the Python debugger and select the Python file here, run and debug. As you can see, it is able to display my first program is VS Code. I just want to show you how exactly the Python code works, right? So you can just type in another, you can try one more simple code where it is a sum of two numbers, right? C equals to A plus B, and then I will print C, right? And here I can give sum of two numbers is, right? And here let me close the semicolon for all, and then try to execute this. There is a syntax error. I just need to give comma here and then try to execute again. So now I'm giving run without debug. So as you can see, when I give run without debug, so it is executing this particular line here, right? And what exactly it is doing internally, so it is compiling, it is interpreting, and then displaying this result. So as you can see, sum of two numbers is 60. It is successfully able to display that. Okay, so this is how you install the virtual VS Code, and also you can create your first program, right? And and execute that in your Visual Studio Code. So it's quite simple. So by especially following these steps, you will be successfully able to install VS Code and set up the Python extension and run your first program, Python program. So Visual Studio Code provides a very robust environment for Python development with features such as debugging, integrated terminal extensions that enhances the overall productivity. So that you can see directly from all of these options. You can go and explore all of these options where you have a debugging option, where you can set breakpoints, right, for the debugging. And the main thing is the extensions, right? So if you can go here to this extensions, whatever you see, there are like a lot of supporting extensions for supporting each programming languages, scripting languages. uh, like uh, Visual Studio makes that integrated development environment or a complete IDE. So the Visual Studio becomes complete idea for any development, but especially for the Python developers, I would say this is a first preference, rather than using any other like a Jupyter Notebook or Spider or PyCharm. Even those can be used, but this is the most extensively used um, IDE that I would say. Yeah. So hope this was useful, and if it is useful, I would recommend you to please subscribe and also share it with your friends and colleagues. Hope this was useful. Thanks for watching.